Chairman, just before you start, I'm getting texts from people in the media and the public that they're not getting connected to the meeting. So I'm requesting that you address it before you start, because the public are entitled to attend this meeting and the media. The texts are coming through by Facebook and by text and by WhatsApp from a number of people, including Catherine McGinty, one of the journalists that wants to attend the meeting. They're all saying that they're being disconnected when they enter. Now, I do. They obviously were given the link by Lifford, because I presume our link is for members only, is it? Chairman, I wish to raise a point of order. First of all, it's basically a clarification. Um, Before you go into the minutes, uh, this meeting here is a public meeting, Chairman, and it should be accommodated for the public to be able to attend these meetings. If they're not able to see this streamed live, then these meetings must be held in situ within the council chamber, or wherever the chamber is set up. That's the reality of this. That's the rules of local government, and that has not been abided by the council. The public have a right, especially concerning the whole issue of deleterious materials and sulfide minerals. And I would propose today that this committee name be changed and Mica removed from the title of it. And the title should be called Defective Concrete and Defective Concrete Blocks. Defective Concrete, that's what it should be titled, committee. Because it's not a Mica problem anymore. The predominant problem is iron sulfide minerals. and mica is only part of the problem and reactive pyrite. So I'm proposing, before we even start this meeting today, that the name of this committee must be changed to reflect on what the real problems are in Donegal homes and properties. So I'm asking you, Chairman, to second that proposal, because I think that that's the right thing to do here, because the word mica is confusing the whole subject. Chairman, it shouldn't be called defective concrete block scheme. It should be called the defective concrete scheme, because foundations are affected by these aggregates and minerals. And concrete means all concrete products. That's in the legislation, ISEN 7713 and ISEN 12620. I don't have a problem with that, Chairman. Bring it back to full council to have that occur. Chairman, I've made a proposal and you've seconded it. It can be brought back now to council. No need for delay with motions and everything else. Have it on the next agenda at full council, so that the proper name of this disaster and scandal is correctly interpreted publicly, because Mica has confused the whole issue. Thank you, Chairman. Well, first of all, I'm requesting that any slides are not included in the e-council, that to be emailed to the members for information. Um, I want to point out that I'm a democratically elected member of Donegal County Council, and I have a mandate to represent the people of Liffordstown RMD. And I also have a mandate to represent the people of Donegal, along with 36 other councillors on Donegal County Council. And that gives me the right to make representations for the people who voted for me and for the people of the county as a whole, along with 36 other members. I wish to raise the following issues. What has been presented to us here today is irrelevant because the 90-10 scheme is suspended. And what you usually do when an issue comes up on a forum, not applicable, and a line through it, disqualified. That's what this scheme now should be described as. Because this scheme is designed around free muscovite mica and reactive pyrite. And the creators of IS 465, one of them has publicly stated that the current enhanced scheme is unworkable. Now, that is one of the creators that helped create SI 25, the statutory instrument for the 90-10 defective concrete block grant scheme. Now, the facts are that this enhanced scheme that has been proposed today is not going to work. The same as the unworkable 90-10 scheme that was delivered by government, the Fine Gael and Labour Party government back in 31st of January 2019 or 2020. Now the facts are, I've made a submission and a request to the committee, the clerk of the committee for the Dail committee who are going to be debating this whole subject, and the bill is coming before them in the next number of weeks. And I wish to read that out later on in the meeting, that submission. Now, the facts are that this whole subject has been based on guesswork to date. And our council engineers are well aware of what is contained in visual estimates and test suite B results from Petrolab. And they are showing the predominant problem as iron sulfate minerals, not mica. Mica is a problem, but not mica is not the predominant problem. There's a small number of test suite C results. One of my family members has put it in to test the scheme. Test suite C shows the percentage of iron sulfate minerals. Now, on that basis, Donegal County Council's engineers have an ethical obligation to inform the public and to inform government that the problem in Donegal is not mica. It's only part of the problem. Now, the people who have campaigned for this politically, and the people who have campaigned for homeowners who are entitled to do so, are not tuned in to the facts of what is really the problem in Donegal. Now, they've requested a number of things that the government now is delivering that are going to continue to fail homeowners in this county. And the biggest problem is they asked for what the pyrite scheme based the new scheme around the pyrite scheme in Dublin and Leinster. Now, the facts are the Leinster pyrite issue is completely different to the problems we have in Donegal, because the problems we have in Donegal are free muscovite mica, reactive pyrite, pyrrhotite, rare pyrite, minor pyrite, chalcopyrite, rare marcasite, sulfuric acid, formation of thomsite, formation of secondary gypsum, and other minerals aggregates forming from the iron sulfates. So, and John Gallagher is well aware of that as a qualified structural civil engineer. And I'm not going to preach to John, because the bottom line is The scheme is flawed. IAS 465 was created around a standard is not there. It's a flawed standard, not what should have been created on the standards for manufacturing concrete and concrete blocks. But concrete is the subject, it's not concrete blocks. The standards are based on concrete, which all products come under. So, from that point of view, what has been presented to us, and I'll give one example, there's been an increase of 121 since April to the application process on your figures supplied here today. But what the public doesn't realise here is everybody who's been paid back their engineers' fees, your engineers' report and your test results are going to be binned in the new enhanced scheme. And you're going to have to start the whole process all over again by getting what they're calling now a building condition assessment professional, which opens up the door to other people to come in to make more money on the backs of victims. And that building assessment, condition assessment professional then has to give a report called a building condition assessment. And then you have to get past the threshold that is in the pyrite scheme in Dublin, designed, and this is what campaigners requested in their document. And you are getting now what you've requested. Now, the facts are, the threshold, you have to get past the threshold first. Your scientific evidence and your results is binned that you've paid for, but the government will say to you now, oh, we've paid you back 90% of it. You have to start the whole process all over again. Now, the facts are that this process has been deliberately designed around certain deleterious materials. Now, IAS 465 actually deals with iron sulfide minerals. And it's in page 2, the introduction, page 23, and page 40, 41, 42, and 43 of IAS 465. Now, Councillor McMonigal said to me a few months ago, I'm forensic in what I do, and by God, I am forensic. I have a knowledge of this subject that nobody in Ireland has. I've investigated it, researched it over the last 15 months. And anyone who wants to debate with me on what I'm raising, I haven't a problem with that. If they disagree with what I'm saying, I'm going on the peer literature published worldwide on this whole subject. Now, I'm in correspondence with Dr. Andrews Lehman. I've been trying to get him to come on board for our legal case, which I shouldn't have to take because we should be afforded protection by the state. Now, I'll give an example. If there was a terrorist attack tomorrow and 100 people were killed, the state would compensate those people because they're insured as citizens of the state. Well, they haven't done that for homeowners to date. And that's the reality here. We're being fobbed off by a government that has deliberately manipulated the whole situation. And now we're facing the fact that they're going to pass a bill, and which is not going to include what's in my motion was passed at the Lifford-Stranraer Municipal District. And in particular, my motion, it was passed unanimously at full council on Monday, which contains the evidence to prove that this problem is predominantly iron sulfide minerals and what it does to the durability of concrete and concrete blocks and concrete products. Now, I've watched and listened to different people campaigning, and I don't want to be critical of them, but the facts are they have no experience how to fight the Irish state. They must now stand aside, in my opinion, and allow people like me, Dr. Ambrose McCluskey, Dr. Andreas Lehman, Professor Paul Dunlop, and other experts to come in here and tell the government what is actually wrong with these homes and properties, which has been forgot about in Donegal, because we're unique to the rest of these counties around the country. But all these counties in Ireland have one thing in common: the effect of concrete. Their problems are different, but the problem, they share a problem, which is defective concrete. Now, the responsibility for that is the government's. They have no oversight, proper oversight, or proper policing of the industry. Or did Donegal County Council police that industry under the building control legislation and the market surveillance legislation that is in place since 2014? And I'm now calling this committee to be the voice for the people of Donegal, because we're not being the proper voice for the people of Donegal. And homeowners should continue campaigning, bring it to the streets. But we're the public representatives that now should be now taking this off the campaigners and directly lobbying government, because that's what our democratic mandate is to do, is to represent the people and raise the issues that the people of Donegal have in the scandal. And there's different political parties in the council that have direct contact with their national parties. Independents like myself have contact with Thomas Pringle and others. And what we should be doing now as a committee is bringing this committee, me and you, Chairman, from my submission, should be asking the clerk of the committee for both of us, along with Dr. Ambrose McCluskey and Dr. Andrews Lehman, Professor Paul Dunlop, to address that committee. Now, I have experience. I have already done this when I was mayor of the county on behalf of the members. I've addressed the European Parliament in 2005 on behalf of my own family. I have a vast experience of how to do this. And I'm prepared to go with you, Chairman, the two of us, and address that committee. Me as a member of the committee and you as Chairman, but from the knowledge that I have on this subject, so that that committee fully understands what the problem is in Donegal, which sadly has not been explained properly by the Mica Action Group. They're trying their best, but in my opinion, they don't have the experience or the expertise backed up by proper scientific evidence or proper engineering solutions advised by proper engineers that know what the solution should be. And the solution should be, and John Gallagher talks here today about the fact about what they're doing in this application process. That's all irrelevant, because option 2, 3, 4, and 5 should immediately be withdrawn from this process. Option 1, full demolition, is the only option open to cure this problem and resolve the homeowners' problems, and that is the problem. The government have designed this whole issue around delay, kick the can down the road tactics, so they don't have to pay for the mistakes caused by them. Because at the end of the day, the government allowed this to happen. They didn't ensure that our rights as homeowners and as citizens of this country were protected. And the abuse of the whole process by government needs to be dealt with now in a public inquiry. And I see all the signs as a victim of a miscarriage of justice. I can see it that you don't see. I see things that other people don't see. I see that it's inevitable that government are going to establish a public inquiry into why this happened, and they think by doing so will delay people like me and others from making public commentary. But I've learned all the lessons that needed to be learned when I was fighting the guards. And I'm not that's history, but I have to give the example. And I'll give the last example I'll give you, Chairman, is a crime scene. What people have to realize here, a crime scene, right, has to be protected. Well, the crime scene here is the homes in Donegal. Those homes weren't properly protected under the law. They weren't properly forensically examined. And as a result of that, a desktop study and guesswork was created into what the problem of these homes. Now, if you don't preserve a crime scene and protect it, then the investigation's flawed from day one. That is what has happened here. So I have a bit more to say, Chairman, later on from the submission that I've made. But this committee role, in my opinion, is to be now the voice of the people of Donegal. I don't need campaigners telling me what needs to be done, because I forensically know this subject. And no one can debate with me on this subject, because I have spent hours upon hours researching it and contacting and correspondence with experts, expert engineers, expert scientists. I have done the groundwork. And the presentation here today by the Mica Action Group, it's irrelevant to me, because I'm a way ahead of them when it comes to the science of this whole subject. So, Chairman, thanks for letting me in. Chairman, I'm not disputing that. I'm not disputing that. We're now in a different place. I'm not disputing that the campaigners have led us to where we are today. The people are now aware of the subject, but it's moved on to a different role. The campaigners have done their job, but they have not delivered because government are only using them. Chairman, could I just raise one point before John comes in? I don't think some of the members have been listening to what I said previous, because the bottom line is this current enhanced scheme and the old scheme is not going to work if iron sulfide minerals are not processed as the predominant problem. And that, I mean, Martin Farron there, who's a good friend of mine, he obviously is not listening to what I actually said. The facts are, all the work that has been done on this 90-10 scheme to date is null and void. It's all going to start all over again in the enhanced scheme. Uh, uh, Chairman, what do you call it? It's very important that we can get back in here to respond to John, Patricia, and others. Now, the first thing I want to say is um, I'd like to thank Councillor Blaney for advising us that John Gallagher is actually negotiating for homeowners. And can John confirm how those negotiations are coming and how they are at the minute on behalf of homeowners? Because my understanding is he's only a member of an expert group where Donegal County Council actually appointed him to the government expert group. So thanks, Councillor Blaney, for clarifying the fact that John now is negotiating on our behalf, and can John confirm that? Secondly, Patricia would need to explain the process of the emergency works. The people who apply for it have to spend their own money first before they actually get the money, the 5,000. And in my opinion, you're only slowing the process for the enhanced scheme to get past the damage threshold by doing repair works. So there's a double-edged sword to the 5,000 that was created for emergency works, and that needs to be highlighted. Now, I have to bring this up to John Gallagher, who is the qualified structural civil engineer. And now, Councillor Blaney, I just want to advise you, I have a lot of experience in the construction industry that you don't have. You stick to the firemen, and I'll stick to the construction. Now, the facts are, freeze thaw is not the problem in Donegal. And a top world leading scientist has confirmed that in writing to me, which I have sent to you, Chairman, and to all the other councillors, stating that freeze thaw is incorrect. Pardon? Now, yes, no, but hold on a second. John Gallagher raised the issue of freeze thaw. It's not a freeze thaw issue. It's an iron sulfide issue. And John would need to come back and clarify what testing Robbie Goodhue has been doing on behalf of Donegal County Council, Dr. Robbie Goodhue, because the issue in Donegal was created out of the 2010 severe weather freeze thaw issue, which is not the issue. The freeze thaw issue that was in the expert panel report, who recommended a full study on this whole process, is not actually the problem. And 4 homes in Donegal samples were given to Dr. Andres Lehman by Professor Paul Dunlop, who the Mica Action Group very much respect. And Michael Doherty can confirm that. Now, Professor Dunlop is working in consultation with Dr. Andres Lehman in a study being undertaken by Ulster University. So this freeze thaw issue should now be kicked out the window, because the facts. No, I want to hear John Gallagher on this point, because Councillor Blaney has stated he's the expert, and I want to hear from the expert about the freeze thaw issue. So that's the points that I want to raise, and I want to ask John the final point: does he agree with my summary that I made here to the committee on the knowledge that I have educated myself on all the literature worldwide on this whole subject? Does he agree with what I have said today in this committee, as the expert described by Councillor Blaney? Chairman, Chairman, one point, one small point, Chairman, and I need to make this point before you move on what John has said and what I have said here today, and I agree with everything John has said. This bill must be halted because if the bill doesn't include the proper information, how can you get the proper solution for the redress scheme, and how do you get the proper engineering solution? Now, common sense, Chairman, needs to be taken here. The bill needs to be halted to include all issues, and if that doesn't happen, we're back at Groundhog Day. It doesn't matter. The bill is going to be passed into law that creates the enhanced scheme. Yeah, I want to make a point, but I also want to. Chairman, well, first of all, I indicated at the beginning of the meeting, I wish to read on to the record the submission. But the point, I'm going to get to the point now. I'm just indicating that I've waited, and this submission that I have made to the committee is very important for this committee. But I have to say, I have to make one observation from what Michael Doherty has said is, and I have to make this clear: engineers, whether they work for Donegal County Council, whether they work for the housing agency, whether they work in the private sector for homeowners, cannot sign off on anything. Only option one, full demolition, based on scientific results that are coming back showing levels of iron sulfide minerals above 0.1%, and that's 0.1% for one block. But foundations have been forgot about here because this is a concrete issue. The foundations are affected by iron sulfide minerals. Now, Dr. Lehman, on his published literature on this whole subject, and John Gallagher can come in on this as an engineer, he will know this. Mica does not affect concrete or concrete blocks if the concrete and concrete blocks are made to the standards that are set down by the European Union, ISEN 12620, SR 16, the standard recommendation, and ISEN 7713, standard recommendation 325, which is the strength of the concrete block and the concrete. Now, that's the reality here. But the reverse thing has happened here. People went on a Mica desktop study, and blocks that are made at the proper standard. We don't know. We don't know what the effects of Mica are because John can confirm this. There is no peer review study or peer review literature on the Mica subject. And John can correct me if I'm right or wrong on that. But that's all I've got to say on that point. But Chairman, I would beg to you to allow me to read my submission in before this committee closes today. Chairman, Chairman, I just need to make one point on what John has clarified here. And I have to give the example. My wife's cousin's home in Skerries, where she lives, she got into the pyrite redress scheme and got past the damage threshold. But her next door neighbour in a semi-detached house next to her didn't get past the damage threshold. But they went and done the testing themselves and paid for it, and eventually got into the scheme at their own expense. Now, there's one thing that hasn't been flagged up here about the pyrite scheme, and what do you call it? Corn contractors all over Ireland can confirm this. Cracking has been in these walls of these properties in Leinster and Dublin, but there's been no testing on the concrete blocks. And they've been given a green card, which Michael Doherty has been advocating for Donegal. But there's a big possibility on what is coming out of Dublin now information that the blocks in Dublin are affected by deleterious materials and sulfide minerals. So this problem is escalating for government, because I believe that some of these homes that have been repaired in Dublin possibly could have defective concrete blocks as well, due to the fact that the cracking inside and outside of these homes is very, very, very extensive in the properties. And the wife's cousin was here visiting us there a couple of weeks ago, and she confirmed all this stuff to me. And she said to me, it's unbelievable the fact that the government are ignoring the people of Donegal. And this wife, my wife's cousin, is a very high ranking Garda officer in Dublin, a very well respected one. And she's the only woman officer of her rank in the Dublin division. So, and I have no problem saying that. She's a very nice lady, somebody who I would trust, and I don't trust too many guards. So, from that perspective, the full truth of what has happened in the pyrite scheme has not been disclosed in Donegal by certain people. Now, she advised me that the people in her area of Skerries, where she lives, thousands of them were not did not get into the scheme due to damage threshold. So this problem is countrywide and is getting worse as the day goes on. Chairman, I wish to read part of this. I won't read it all. I wish to read part of this submission for the members, because it's very important, so they understand what is actually happening here. Uh, dear committee clerk, I have been advised by the chairman of the committee, Deputy Stephen Matthews TD, that I should write to you about my request asking for permission to appear before the committee concerning the upcoming bill on the Enhanced Effective Concrete Block Grant Scheme, which is set to be published in the coming weeks by government. Links, links attached, Frank McBurdy's position paper on the Donegal Mica scandal titled All the Delirious Materials and Sulphide Mineral Scandal, Republic of Ireland, being updated. Frank McBurdy paper on the Irish legal process titled Worst Form of Injustice is Pretend Justice, Dr. Andres Lehman's presentation given to the EU webinar. Attachments, Dr. Ambrose McCluskey's 3 letters, Dermot and Breed's Farrell's engineers report and test suite A, B and C test results from Petrolab in the UK, emails to and from Dr. Andres Lehman. The attachments and the links give a good synopsis of what should be included in the bill, which your committee will examine in the coming weeks. However, there is a huge volume of peer literature on the whole subject which has been ignored to date. Dr. Ambrose McCluskey, with his experience and knowledge on engineering issues, should be invited by the committee to address and share with them where government has failed to date. My position paper on the legal route explains how difficult it can be for people seeking justice in Ireland through the legal process and financial costs, especially to the many that can't afford the litigation road to justice. Investigations and solutions. The example of the procedure that must be observed within a crime under the law: 1. Crime scene must be preserved and protected. 2. Examined forensically. 3. Scientific laboratory testing and results. 4. Investigation and results into what happened based on evidence. 5. Accountability, prosecution. 6. Court. 7. Justice. The above can be compared to what should have happened in the defective concrete disaster in the Republic of Ireland. Simply: 1. Science. 2. Engineering solution. 3. Redress. And the comparisons: 1. For what has happened in Donegal: 1. Crime scene and science. 2. Examined forensically so correct engineering solution is determined. 3. Create a proper defective concrete block standard for testing based on proper science so that the correct engineering solution is given. 4. Investigation and results based on evidence from science and engineering from a correct standard for concrete, defective concrete, allowing for right solutions. 5. Redress. 6. Tribunal. 7. Complete justice. Sadly, the above has not been adhered to by government to date. The best example in lay terms is: would you send for a bricklayer or a surgeon if your appendix burst? I don't think so. That's exactly what has happened here when homeowners with no experience or expertise were expected to deliver to government what had caused this disaster. Over the last 15 months, I have researched the literature on this whole subject. I have written, proofread, corresponded, and talked to expert scientists and structural civil engineers that have written about this whole subject of the deleterious materials in concrete and who have publicly commented and criticised the government's approach, which has failed miserably to date. Homes and property owners affected by this still have no solution. That is the biggest failure of all to date. Everything else is irrelevant. If no solution is not properly established first, talk of pre-legislative scrutiny is meaningless if the bill excludes the whole subject of all deleterious materials, iron sulphide minerals, and its effects on concrete. This is another white elephant or red herring which some like to use, and there has been a few of these used in order to deflect from the real issues facing all affected. A self-regulated industry, no proper oversight, and policing not controlled or implemented by government and local authorities across the country has caused the biggest disaster in our housing history and living memory. This failure is a sad indictment on local and national government to legislate property which would have stopped this disaster ever happening to begin with, but we are where we are today, and we must now, as public representatives, ensure justice is seen to be done and served. This bill is the most important one ever to come before the Dáil in the history of the state concerning all homeowners' rights to property redress for a disaster not caused by them. This disaster has been caused by the state and their failures to police the quarry and concrete industries that has led us to where we are at today. Groundhog Day. This bill must include the issues that I have raised in emails to all Oireachtas members to date, as information, education and knowledge leads to power over any subject. The world's leading experts like Dr. Andres Lehman and others named in peer literature sent by me to members must be invited to the committee so they can explain the whole subject of the deleterious materials, iron sulfide minerals and their effects on concrete durability. At present, there is no peer review. I'll email the rest of it, Chairman. Uh, Chairman, I'll email the rest of you later on this evening. But this submission is the most important submission, and I feel that this committee should back me 100% and the elected members that we be allowed to address this committee with all the issues that are missing and have been deliberately missing because of the people who were appointed to investigate and come up with the conclusions, and these people are unqualified because the first thing that unqualifies them is they're making decisions on Mica when there's no Mica study and its effects on concrete. Simple as that. Chairman, one small point, Chairman. I just need to let you know. This is, if the government doesn't do the right thing, they're going to be facing my father in the High Court as the first test case, legitimate test case, coming against them for what they have done and what they've allowed to happen. And I can assure people of Donegal that that's going to happen, because we've travelled that road before and we know what we're doing. But I don't want to go that road. I want redress the same as everybody else. I'm a victim, the same as yourself, Councillor McDermott. I'm a victim of this, and I shouldn't be a victim of it. The state should have protected us, but they're going to have to, if they don't do the right thing and ensure that all issues are dealt with, they're going to be facing us in the High Court. And anybody that underestimates me saying that, then they don't know me.